We are live. Welcome, everybody. This is Maxie Collier, and we are back again. Yes, we took 1 week off between our AI Toolbox Bootcamp session just a week ago. Took 1 week off, and the world of AI has radically changed already, you guys. We're so excited to have you here for today's presentation. This is week number 4 of the AI Toolbox Bootcamp. In today's program, we're going to start off by updating you guys on some of the exciting new announcements that have occurred over the past couple of weeks. And then we're going to dive into getting some expert opinion. We're going to hear from our man, Ben Ramsey, director and producer. We're going to hear from Dr. Shartriya Collier as we talk to these subject matter experts about the role that AI is having right now on the worlds of video production, Hollywood, education, and training in today's AI Toolbox Bootcamp program. What's up, my dear? You want to say anything to folks before we get rolling?
Yes, I want to say welcome, everyone. We are so happy to have you here. Now, if you are new, if this is your first stream, if you were invited for the first time, you can always go to AImediamakers.com. That's AImediamakers.com and log in and get information there. This is the third cohort of the AI Toolbox Bootcamp, and this session will be available for replay to the members of our cohort at AImediamakers.com. Now, this current stream that you're watching, the link that you have, you're welcome to watch here. You can comment and engage with us here in the chat. You can ask your questions, and we're here to answer questions because we have an extremely exciting session for you today.
Yes, so as we said, so originally, if you're watching this replay, we want you to understand that, we have so much that we try to cover in these little 60 to 90-minute programs. So what we end up doing at the AI Media Makers training program is chopping these up in individual sections, putting the transcriptions on there, and then expanding the discussions. So nearly everything that we're discussing today at some point is going to require its own course and its own training program, because these tools are coming and advancing at such substantial rates. The learning curves are reducing for some, but with these other powerful tools, we're having to dig in deep. These are advanced first-time technologies. So, which brings us to our first guest here today, Mr. Ben Ramsey. So, Ben is a filmmaker who is, okay, I'll just tell you guys about my most favorite film from Ben, and it's called Blood and Bones. And it is an action movie that he did with Michael J. White in 2009. And it was just dope in its social conscious and its fight scenes. It had folks like Kimbo Slice in it, R.I.P., as well as many other talented actors. Ben, we welcome you to our program, and we're excited to hear about your journey in Hollywood and filmmaking.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, Maxie. I couldn't turn this down because you guys are talking AI. And for the past few years, like 2 years practicing, it's been nothing but AI every day. And of course, before that, I've actually been researching and studying artificial intelligence for almost 10 years for this story that I've been creating, my little pet project called Interface. And Interface is all about AI, artificial intelligence. It's kind of like, a look into the future after AI, and doesn't paint it in that very rosy a picture, but it was a kind of prescient because it involved brain chips and brain implants. And then shortly after I put that together, Elon Musk started talking about Neuralink. And I'm like, dude, where's my residuals? So anyway, man, I love AI, and I love filmmaking. And, I understand the inherent risks of it, and I understand the benefits of it. Because, for many of us, it's a game changer. It's an opportunity to tell the stories that we want to tell that Hollywood won't tell. And at the downside of it, it will put a lot of people out of work. Make no mistake about that. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs, not to AI itself, but to people using AI, people that are proficient using AI. So yeah, that's that. That's it.
So, you know, Ben, they say that it's going to make people lose jobs, and
Mhm.
I believe it's happening already. You know,
Yeah.
when we look at, when we look at our situation, in our little lab, we've maintained over the years, freelancers, agencies, copywriters on contract and retainers. you
Hmm.
know, in the past 2 years of doing these AI works, we have not required those services the same way. We've reduced our bill. No, we've increased our bills in the cost of these services and these computing fees,
Hmm.
because the best of them, as you know, are not cheap.
Right.
But we have already reduced our reliance on certain freelancers by having the ability, like you said, to go straight from our head to Chat GPT, to
Hmm.
Midjourney, to Leonardo, and begin getting these ideas out and communicating them as visuals and words, And so can you talk a little bit about the creative process for yourself now, that we have these capabilities? How is it
Well,
for you?
it's been fantastic. It's just, as a creator, and my job in Hollywood has primarily been a writer. So it works out well for me when it comes to prompting, because my stock and trade is working with words.
Mhm.
So I can describe things that the AI can pick up on. So I can get relatively specific in prompting to get the output that I need. Because anybody that working with AI is kind of like being a director,
Mhm.
but your cast and crew are extremely talented but autistic. You know,
Yes.
so
As a
you're
neurodivergent person, I do know.
right.
Yes.
So you have you're starting to say, and she's wearing a red hat and green boots, and the AI is like, okay, uh, blue hat and yellow boots. No,
Mhm.
green hats and red boots. Gotcha. Purple hat and orange boots. You're like, so
Well, can you do
that was
me
her.
can you do me a favor, because our son is in film school, and he's been going to have some of his film student friends watch this. Can you talk about a little bit about the contrast between your prepping for a traditional film in terms of the pre-production and development process, and the sort that you envision us now, as we look at some of these AI capabilities?
Well, the main difference is that to do a feature film, to do a major Hollywood film, you need a bunch of people. You start off with an idea, you come up with a script, and then after you come up with a script, then you got to take it through a whole bunch of people. And first of all, you got to get money to do it, and that's the first stumbling block.
Mhm.
Yeah. Then once you get that, then you have a bunch of people to come in and try to make it happen. You have to go and scout locations. You got to cast. You got to crew up. You have to do all of these steps in order to actually shoot something, to see something visual. That is, if you're not cobbling together other people's works
Mhm.
to make a sizzle reel. Whereas with AI, you go straight from the brain over to Midjourney. You create the images that you want. In essence, you create a shot list of very highly detailed, beautiful photo reel images. Zoom them over to Runway ML, animate them, take those animations into your editor of choice. I use DaVinci Resolve.
Mhm.
If you need voiceovers and everything, you can go to, I prefer to use actors for voiceovers, but if I can't use actors, then I'll go to 11 Labs
Mhm.
and use some of the voices on that, or upload voices that are similar to what I want and create voices that I want to use. And then sometimes if I need, although I don't, I'm waiting for the next iteration of it. There's D-ID
Yes.
That you can add a voice to your AI characters.
Yes.
But those are cool, but I'm just kind of like, it's a little too, all you have is a head moving. It's good for talking heads, but if you're trying to do something really cinematic and creative, it feels a little dated now, which is weird, saying that something in AI video is dated and it's not even a year old.
I mean, again, and we just looking at 1 week, and let's segue to that. In just the past week, we've had OpenAI release its Sora model, and I saw your comments on it. Can you go ahead and before we talk about it, dear, can we go ahead and play back to back 2 or 3 of those clips? Now, just to set it up, you guys, this time last year, we were just so excited because we could type text and have pictures coming up. And there was a video that started going viral, and it was of Will Smith eating spaghetti. Now, we're going to have to drop that video in, or we'll pull it up in a moment. But it was just really creepy because there's a concept as we talk about AI generation and AI animated content. It's a concept called uncanny valley effect. And the uncanny valley effect is that creepy feeling that we get when we see AI generated photorealistic images that almost look like humans, but don't quite look like humans. That's called the uncanny valley effect. So last year, that Will Smith video was going around and it just went viral, and it kind of creeped a lot of people out. And they were saying it's going to be a long way before this is Hollywood ready. Well, just this week, OpenAI came out with this Sora model. And again, if we look at how OpenAI came out first with 3.5 last year, that was the model that most of the public knew about. And then just a little incremental change to 4 had radical differences than 3.5. So now as we go from the OpenAI 3.5 model to the Sora model, we are seeing amazing improvement in text to video. So now we have video that can go up to 1 minute long and very high resolution. But most importantly, it keeps the quality of the image across that minute. Most of the current text to video products that we're using most enthusiastically, Runway, Pica Labs, Pixaverse, these start to lose the consistency of the characters across the frames. So that's why people are so excited about this OpenAI model. So dear, let's go ahead and play a couple back to back. And then I would love to get your feedback from a cinematic perspective, and everything.
Copy that. So for all of the members of the cohort, I encourage you to look at the actual technical paper that is available from OpenAI on this technology. The clips that we're about to play have no audio. They are visuals, but the ones who were with us last year know about the visuals from last year. These visuals from this year, from this week, are amazing. So I'll go ahead and play them. They do not have audio, so you'll still be able to hear us making commentary about these, but take a look at these visuals. Rolling Big Sur.
Yeah, now that's beautiful.
Yes.
Lovely.
That's going to put stock footage out of business.
Drone shot just from text to words. That one right there. And again, you guys, this is first generation. The fidelity, the frame rate, all of it is going to. So dear, can we play the next one? And Ben, tell us what it would have taken for us to get a shot like this next one. We're going to do the Tokyo walk there. And so Ben, the one that's on the So tell us what it would have taken. What would it have taken for us to get a shot like this traditionally?
Well, traditionally, Hollywood style, you would have need an actor, a bunch of background actors. You would need a location permits. You would need a good, high quality 35 millimeter or digital camera on a Steadicam or a dolly.
You're locking down the roads.
Then you'd have to wet down the roads and stuff. You'd have to get somebody with a hose to water down the roads to get that shine and that gleam.
And you have your costume and makeup person right there.
Costume and makeup person. It basically would have cost you a lot of money unless you were doing it guerrilla style.
Yes.
Which would have been.
And look at that reflection in the the glasses. And so you guys, this one image, if you go to openai.com/Sora, you'll find this exact video. That's exactly the way it came out of from the prompt, and you'll find the exact prompt that they use to create that image. So
Yeah.
it's just mind blowing. Dear, let's play one more, the furry critter, and then we'll go on to the next.
Okay, so now this one is going to have animators and 3D artists shook.
Yes.
Because to do that, traditionally, you would need a 3D software program. You know, you could, I mean, there's cats that are doing stuff like this on Blender and Unreal Engine and, you know, and programs like that.
But it's a lot of manual labor.
But it's a lot of manual labor. It's a lot of button clicking, and you know, it's a very a timely project. It would take you, you know, a lot of time to do that and then render it out. You know, then you have to have a lot of GPU power to you know, to render that out. So yeah, but now you could type it and you get that. Yeah, a lot of VFX artists are you know,
well, one of the things I loved in your post, Ben, was you said you're neither an advocate nor an opponent of AI.
No, I'm not.
I hear you on that. I tell people all the time, I'm computing agnostic. I'm not tied to any media, but you know, we study this because we know we need mastery, you know, and you know, so what are some of the concerns and the worst case scenarios that you would dare vocalize, you know, as we look at some of this what the Sora can do for us?
Well, the number one downside is that it's going to put a lot of people out of work. You know, a lot of people, it's going to, you know, completely, you know, change the entire paradigm of filmmaking because, you know, all the things that I described for that one shot, all those people are out of work. You don't need them anymore. If that's, you know, and that also depends on the capabilities of, you know, of what this program could eventually do. The other downside of it is it, you know, gets, you know, of course, if it, you know, gets in the hands of the studios, they're going to love it. You know, they're going to like, oh my God, we don't need all these pesky artists anymore. All we need to do is just plug an idea into ChatGPT. It spits out a script and then plug it into Sora, and we got a movie. You know, the upside of it is for some time, you know, unless it takes another seismic shift, I think we still need actors. We still need actors, and we need good writers better than, or ChatGPT is going to have to step its game up because the stuff that it spits out are pretty generic. You know, I worked as a writer for many years, and the stuff that ChatGPT was the type of stuff they gave me to rewrite. You know, so but we're still going to need actors, but what I think it is the plus side of it. The other downside of it is that pretty soon, if it goes, you know, out and is readily accessible as Midjourney or as Runway, then the entire internet is going to be flooded with thousands and thousands of really brilliant looking garbage. You know, we're going to get tons and tons of videos that, you know, that, wow, man, this looks like a big budget. So it, you know, it'll kind of take, you know, a lot of the magic that you got from Hollywood films out of the, you know, it will kind of cheapen that to a certain degree. But the plus side is that Hollywood is going to have to step their game up and deliver to the people something that, you know, your average Joe with a computer and an iPhone can't create. That means they're going to have to start focusing on better stories. They're going to have to start focusing on things like practical effects. They're going to have to start focusing on putting heart and soul back into filmmaking, which has kind of been missing as of late.
It's interesting you mentioned practical effects, because as I talk with a lot of young actors and perform, because again, it's not just the visuals. We can go right now to Cassette AI or Suno AI and make songs that have the vocals and have the music. So now it's the instrument, the musicians, it's the vocalists. But I tell all of them, if you can draw, now it's time for you to step up your public appearances, because the world of live everything, of live teaching, of live entertainment, that's going to have greater value now with all this high volumes of deep fake stuff going out there. So if you can only record your rhyme in a voice box or with some software, if you can't get up on stage and perform that, or if you can't do a live theatrical performance as an actor, you're at a liability.
Yeah.
And so now it's really, if I was entering this game right now in any sort of performance, that's what I would be. I'd focus on being the MC Hammer of this time, putting on the best live performance possible, because the old Think and Grow Rich book said, make yourself most valuable, by having skills that, other people don't necessarily have,
And having skills that AI can't do.
Yes.
And that's why, the takeaway from that, from the little thing that I wrote, was that the way forward for artists in the future of AI is backwards. And digital artists, because I contend that the minute that we exchanged film for ones and zeros, that we exchanged brushes and paint and canvas for pixels. That's kind of like the we opened Pandora's box, and this is just another inevitability. AI, was just, it was inevitable, because the whole digital medium was about making everything easier. It's easier. It's easier.
Yes.
And now we're at the point now where it's like, if you could think it, you could type it, you got it. This was inevitable. So the way forward for artists, if you want to be a traditional artist, is backwards. Put down the Photoshop. Put down because you can't compete. If you
go analog again.
Yeah, and get back to analog.
Get
back to analog. Get the brush and the paint and start. Because until they start putting the painting robots out, there's still we're talking to something that AI can't do. So,
so can you give us a summary of your favorite AI tools before we wrap up?
The ones I've been working with mostly have been Midjourney, Leonardo, Runway ML, 11 Labs for sound. Sometimes I sometimes I edit on CapCut, because they have like effects and things.
Yes.
I also have fun with Kyber to get that kind of funny glitchy thing. I did my whole music video with Kyber, and lately I've been messing around with Deforum, and that does that weird morphing kind of thing like that, But those are the ones I've been messing with mostly.
There's a platform we just started experimenting with that brings a lot of those control net and things under one. It's called Think Diffusion, and thinkdiffusion.com. And under there, it's its own little toolbox of a bunch of those automatic 11 control nets and all those type of things. It puts them on its own little server, for you as well. So
we have one question from the audience.
Yes. What's the question? Okay. It says, double click on that about using AI to create music that can't be replicated. What is, can break this down there? Can you read that question for me?
Definitely. To comment again on about how using AI to create music that can't be replicated live.
Oh, I mean, so that there, it is so easy, just like the voice box and the other things made it so that people who could barely carry harmonies had, hit songs and stuff. Now, we can go to CassetteAI.com or go to Suno, Suno, SUNO.ai, which we've discussed previously. We can type lyrics in, describe music, and it's going to start outputting finished tracks for us. So as an analog or traditional performer, I need the capability to perform live at such a level that engages a person more than this AI stuff, and to have people appreciate the mastery of artistry and the mastery of the analog instrumentation, and just like how we saw vinyl start to come back around because of people appreciating things about it, So in a time where I, as a person who was never trained in music, can go make 500 songs in a week and go make 500 music videos to go with them, and then use marketing and algorithms to push that into the face of people, how does someone who doesn't do that compete? Well, you have to get up on Twitch with your guitar and sing your heart out for an hour.
Yep.
Or go up there and do your live monologue, or go do your live comedy in such a way that then I want to go see you do that live. That's the business model in this over digital saturated times.
Or there's also, the combining the two, because I have a lot of friends who are actors, and they're scared witless, of AI, taking over. They're going to be replaced by digital actors. And I'm saying that, they can shoot themselves.
Thank you. They can digitize themselves.
Yeah, they can digitize themselves, or just shoot themselves on a green screen. Or actually, you don't even need green screen anymore. And then composite yourself into a background created by AI. And all of a sudden, here you are acting in a big budget looking film. So, I've always said, that, and I told, this might be a little bit subversive, but I'm kind of retired from Hollywood, so I'm not really, I'm not really.
Speak your mind, bro. You're among some radicals here, man. Speak your mind.
But I say the artists are so concerned about the studios replacing them with AI. I'm saying, look, get together and replace the studios with AI. Because everybody, artists are mostly looking at the generative models, not paying too much attention to the language models. And it is my contention that through the language models, the Chat GPTs and the Geminis and all of that, they can do what a room full of executives can do easier than they can do what we do. So it's like, hey, so this time, you could go to the negotiating table with a carrot or a stick. It's like, hey, don't screw us over with this AI because we need to work. But if that is your contention, that's what you're going to do, then we're going to replace you with AI, and we're going to do our artwork and use AI to get it out to the world at a fraction of the cost. And
Ben, that's such a great point, because we saw when the NFTs came up, and a lot of us thought that was going to provide the distribution models and things, and it did for a little while, right? But we can go right now to Etsy, and we can find individuals selling their AI art as digital downloads. And people are buying these, putting them on t-shirts themselves, putting them on mugs, and they're collecting them like baseball cards for $3.99, $5.99. And in that case, the role of the content creator is the curator of these concepts. They pick a style, they curate some, they put them in a bundle of 10 images, and they sell them on Etsy. And that brings us back, mentioning about, crypto and the blockchain. We have contended that even though people are leery of the blockchain, that in this era of deep fakes, that is how we're going to be able to validate media. How can I know I'm talking to Ben, and we're truly talking? Well, the blockchain can help validate these sort of things, in the ways, and so we're keeping our eye on this merger between generative media and blockchain, and what protocols come up there to allow the relationship between, okay, I came up with this prompt, I came up with this sequence of prompts, you know, how can that be time stamped, you know, in relationship to other people and things like that. And one last thought as we wrap out, if you were looking ahead for 10 years, if you just walked in Hollywood now and you were looking at how everything is popping, what would be your approach to doing business in Hollywood starting today?
Starting today, I'm different from most people because I've always been kind of a maverick, and my heart in storytelling and filmmaking has always kind of like been a guerrilla mentality and stuff. I don't like collaborating with people that don't know how to make movies, you know, and that's what you got to do in Hollywood. Hollywood is like, I've always said Hollywood is like working in Hollywood is like working with a group of vegans trying to run a steakhouse. You know, they're not familiar with what, and so they're guessing, always looking backwards. They're not looking forward. They're always looking at what worked instead of, you know, what could work or what will work. And, you know, there's so much. So my approach, first of all, I think it's going to take a change of mindset, and it's going to, people are going to have to stop thinking like employees and start thinking more like entrepreneurs, you know, so that you could approach Hollywood from a standpoint of quid pro quo. You know, hey, I could do this stuff without you, but I could do it much better with you. You know, so I think that's that's kind of like the approach, because it's only going to get worse. The long range, you know, down the line, if AI keeps growing and advancing, and we get to this stage of AGI, of artificial general intelligence.
Can you define that for people, what that is?
Artificial general intelligence is basically when AI can think for itself. It doesn't need us to think. It's just like me and you, and on a general level, you know. So at that point, then you don't have to prompt. You're not going to be able to prompt what you want. The AI says, I already know what you want. I've been following your habits for, you know, ever since you've been online, and I know exactly what you want. Here's the movie.
And I'm reading your data from your iWatch and your GPS, and I'm cross-referencing it to your tweets. Yes. And, you know,
and next thing you know, it says, oh my God, and it puts a movie out there, and you say, damn, this is a good movie. Holy shit. Oh, excuse my French. Holy cow, AGI, holy cow, Chat GPT or whatever.
Well, I see Mitch in the chat room saying there will be new careers, new roles, and new industries.
Yes, there will be. But down the line, and this is where we have to be very cautious about it, is that, you know, we have AGI to worry about, and then beyond that is ASI, and that's artificial superintelligence. And that's what my whole movie interface, that's what my whole story interface is about, the rise of superintelligence. You know, it basically sees us as, you know, like ants on the anthill.
As a problem.
Yeah, that's an issue. You know, so it's something that, but hopefully we'll get that in line. And well, the other thing is that we have to, you know, start thinking in terms of why we need to work with AI, is that the only thing that's going to be able to combat bad AI is good AI.
Yes.
You know, so because we're not going to be able to think fast enough to combat.
Well, speaking of good AI, and again, you know, Ben, I look forward to, you know, us sitting down in person, and because, you know, I would love to interview you about so many things. You know, as a martial artist, I appreciate your work. You know, watching the movie again today, I saw so many social messages and things in there. You know, if you were going to give a general guess about 1 year from now, what should this Sora model be able to do for us, you think?
It should be able to and I hate to say this, but I think that's where it should be able to not only give us breathtaking, stunning images, but characters that can act.
Mm-hmm.
That's the holy and unholy grail of it. And at that point in time, then filmmaking will be as easy as, you know, prompting, prompting what you want. And not that it's spitting out an entire movie, but, it's like you're shooting a film and you're putting scenes and everything together. That's something that I would use, but I would use reluctantly if there was no other way, because I like actors and I like working with actors, and I like the idea of that human touch of bringing, the humanity. I don't care how artificial the background is, because I mean, most of the movies we're watching now have artificial backgrounds, and a lot of them that you don't even think are artificial backgrounds. They're artificial backgrounds. Two people in a coffee shop and everybody outside is walk outside of New York City. They shot that in a soundstage in Los Angeles, and New York City is a construct of a visual effects CGI. So we're already there. But the one thing that the AI doesn't have, and I don't know how I feel about it, that you get an artificial intelligence that can create characters that can emote and turn in award-winning performances. You know what? I'm not sure how I feel about that. That's a wonderful thing and a terrible thing all at the same time.
Hey, Max Headroom would be proud.
Yeah, Max Headroom would be sad. I saw this coming.
Ben, thank you again for your time, man. Again, there's lots of questions coming in. I look forward to chatting with you in person, and we sit down. We're going to go ahead and segue to our next discussion here this afternoon, and that is about AI in education. Now, Ben, I do want to ask you about one thing. Have you used Google Gemini yet?
I have not.
Okay, cool. We want to encourage everyone watching to take a moment and visit gemini.google.com. That's gemini.google.com. Because again, we talked about a bunch of these new tools and concepts that have been released in just the 1 week. And Google's new Gemini is one of these. So in comparison, we've talked previously about how OpenAI's ChatGPT-4 was pretty much the gold standard. And about then, when we needed to, we would use Anthropic's Claude as a supplement to it. Well, now Google has turned their Bard brand and called it Gemini. This is one of the most powerful free AI tools that you can use right now. And this is because it has the ability for you to paste in 1,000,000 point something characters into your field, which it can then process. So previously for ChatGPT-4, we were able to type in thousands and then tens of thousands of characters in our requests. Now imagine being able to paste a whole book in there and asking the ChatGPT to summarize it, or other media. So that's why we want to encourage everyone in the AI Toolbox Bootcamp this week to take some time, spend some time experimenting with Gemini at gemini.google.com. And we're going to have more lessons on that in our training program. With that in mind, we're going to move in to our segment with my little sister, Dr. Shartriya Collier. Now, I have 4 dope little sisters. That's why I always have to clarify when I say my little sister. So Dr. Triya, can you jump on mic right about now?
Hello. Hi, everyone.
So can you give us now, for folks who were with us in the AI Toolbox Bootcamp last week, they saw Dr. Triya as one of the participants with us, and she brought a lot of educators into the program. They provided us with very solid, real-world rooted concerns, questions, and perspectives on AI in 2023. This year, Dr. Triya, we want to talk about some of those conversations that you all are having, some of the thoughts, and some of the solutions and experiences you've had so far. How's it been for you in the past year with AI and education?
Well, thank you for introducing me to AI to begin with and making this an interest to me. And it's been interesting, I think, listening to you all talk. There is definitely a deep rooted fear, particularly, I'm going to talk about two spaces today. One is in the higher ed space because I am a teacher of teachers, and so I'm a teacher educator. And so when we have these conversations a lot when I just, on campus, just about what it means working with our college students, there is debate now about whether many professors will not let their students use AI at all. We have recently created a few statements that professors can use. One statement is, hey, you can use AI, go for it. One statement is use AI and make sure you cite it. And then another one is no AI. We let the professors decide which one of those statements that they want to use. I personally feel like, right.
You created prompts for the teachers, huh?
What was that?
You created prompts for the teachers just like the AI, huh?
In some ways. Yeah. So I think my stance is a little bit different in terms of I'm going to switch over thinking about for K to 12 teachers. So the work that I do in Nevada, and it's actually nationally, we have a national teacher shortage. There is an extreme crisis in public education. We have higher amounts of teachers who are leaving the teaching community than we ever did before. One of the reasons why teachers are leaving is because they are feeling, of course, they're not paid. The other is as an impact of COVID, we have children who are behind. We also have children who also, because they're behind academically and they're behind social and emotionally. So there are a lot of variables that are impacting teacher success and teachers' choices to leave the field at this point. I personally believe that AI can solve a lot of the the challenges that we're encountering. One thing I want to say is you can never replace a human teacher. The humanity that we bring to the work, same like what you all were saying with the arts, there's a certain level of humanity that we bring to it that will never be replaced. Even if, with Ben's super AI, even if they think they learn that they can master who we are as humans, I don't believe that's ever capable. Although I do watch way too much Terminator too, so I'm like, so I'm also like, okay, is it going to get to the point? What was the Terminator AI person again? Skynet, right? Is it going to get to the point of Skynet? But for me, there's just three areas where I think we have a potential way of getting and solving some of our issues. One is the ability to create teaching assistants. Mm-hmm. So many of you probably have heard of the Khan Academy. It's huge. Sal Khan just did a TEDx talk about his Khan Amigo, right? And the Khan Amigo is essentially a teaching assistant that you can use within your classrooms to support so that the teacher is just not the only one in the room who's functioning. We can be very intentional about the way, if you have a classroom of 23 students who are all functioning on different levels. Let's say we throw in some students who have special needs that need support. We also have students who speak multiple languages. We also have students who have different social emotional needs. Putting all of that on one teacher is not sustainable, and that's why teachers are leaving. So I'll stop there and then, and see if there's any questions before I talk a little bit more.
Well, let's talk a little bit about these AI teaching assistants, because we showed you how ChatGPT allows us to do custom GPTs, and if we go into the ChatGPT directory, I have it on my screen, but it's not sharing. I'm loading back in, but if we go into the custom GPT directory, we can see that there's a bunch of them that are teaching assistant. Well, there's two categories. There's one where we can, as a self-educated person, I can go in and find GPTs to help me learn a wide variety of subjects as they are. So now we can go say, I want to learn French, Python, astrology, any of these subjects, and I can find a teaching assistant. Now, this again is not to replace the human, but to lay core foundations and other things to allow people to learn at their own pace and in their own style. So to seek out expertise and to be prepared for expertise, to supplement expertise, so that's on the learning side, and then on the teaching side, like you said, Dr. Triya, the ability to create these teaching assistants that can help take some of the pressure off, because these teaching assistants have visual capabilities. You can load, Triya, let's talk about when we used to grade papers for mama as kids. Our dear mama right now is 77 years old teaching at UNLV. Big up, Dr. Betty, said, and so we were children as teenagers helping my mom grade papers. We could now take those same papers, take a picture of it, and ask the AI to help us grade it. Now, will we want to review it? Yes, we do. But that capability is here right now, So, but the question becomes, how do we introduce these capabilities without further creating more fear?
Yeah, and I think, and also I want to be careful because teachers, grade your work, okay? Do your work. So, because that's how we
teaching assistants use the GPT.
But yes, like again, it is a tool. It is a scaffold to support the learning in your classroom, right? And so one example that I like to give is with writing. Writing is the number one way that we're using OpenAI and a lot of these platforms, right? In order to create prompts for the output, that is a skill in itself. And that skill comes from a level of mastery. And I think someone had mentioned that, I think Mitch put it in the chat, someone put it in the chat about we are teaching a level of mastery. If I'm a photographer and I go into Midjourney, I'm going to be able to do so much more with Midjourney because I can tell it what camera angle to use, right? And it's the same way as a teacher. I want to model for my students how to use that mastery as a scaffold for those tools. So one reason why I mentioned the writing process and the artist process is because with the writing process, historically, it's, we had 5 stages, right? You had the pre-writing, you had the drafting, you had the editing, you had the revising. I think I left one out. Let's see, pre-writing. Needless to say, what's happening now, I was just on an AI group earlier, and this group is people who are making coloring books and children's books and journals. And I put on that group, I said, you all, please edit your work. You don't want to raise a group of children who are reading books that have incorrect grammar and punctuation, right? So I think people are getting so caught up in the expedience of these tools that we have to still go and find a person who is a good editor to edit these books. We have to find a person who's a good whatever the mastery is. And so for me, my goal as a teacher of teachers is to model for teachers how we cultivate students' identities, right? So we bring their identities into the classroom and we use that as a resource for the tools, and we show the students how to use who they are to master these tools to get what they essentially want, if that makes any sense.
Perfect sense. And when we were speaking earlier about the role that live things play now in this world of AI, it applies to the classroom as well.
Absolutely.
Professors can have AI generate prompts and require the writing be done right there live in the classroom. It's not send it home as an assignment. It's let me see you do it right here. So it requires all of us to rework the thinking of the things that we've settled as standard practices, previously. So if you think of how the AI has changed in just a year since we first introduced it to you, Dr. Triya, what are some things you've been most excited about and that have helped you in your day-to-day work?
Well, I mean, the fact that you and I created a chat GPT that is an equity and social justice oriented chat GPT for teachers who are specifically passionate about teaching from a social justice and an equity lens. So for me, now the curation, and I've heard this and you've said it before, and I love this, we are all curators, we're all DJs, we are all remixers, right? So with this tool that I have, it allows me to gather all of the resources that I, as an educator with 20-something years of experience in equity and social justice, now I can put all of this into a chat GPT, and when I'm trying to create lesson plans for my students, they are coming from a social justice oriented lens. And I'm going to constantly be curating that so that it, because we know that we have the chat GPTs that are, what is it called when they, once again,
Hallucinate?
yeah, with hallucination, right?
Yes.
So we have to make sure that we're continuing to curate authentically. It's Black
Yes.
History Month right now, right? And so if we don't know those key terms that we're talking about from whatever our fields are, when we're creating things that we want to be authentic, we need to know the language in order to introduce the authenticity in it, right?
Yes. Yep.
So I'm most excited about the way that we can create these GPTs and teachers can create these teaching assistants that align with their own voice, but they also can say, I have a class of 5 English learners, I have a class of 5 students who have IEPs. So IEPs, for those of you that are not educators, are individualized educational plans. These are students who might need have a variety of special assistance that they need. I can put that in the GPT and say, create a lesson that has modifications for these learners so that I can walk away and have these modifications automatically. One of the hardest parts for teachers is differentiation. Because they have so many students. So if I have differentiated lessons, but I also have these AI assistants who are trained in my model, I can take a group of students and these AI assistants, and you don't want to, of course, have the AIs unattended, right? So it could be recorded just so we're constantly monitoring for quality assurance.
Yes. And okay, so as we talk about multilingual scenarios and some of the challenges, in there, have you seen people implement, these Duolinguos? Have you seen people implement Google Translate? Have you seen some of these tools that are available now being worked into existing curricula?
Yes, I have. I don't have a list of exactly what those are right now, and so I need that list, and that will be for our next training. Any educators in the room, that will be where we provide you and we walk you through some of these tools for modifying your lesson, for translating so that you can send newsletters out to parents. Parent trainings are separate, and my brother and I have talked about what does this look like to make sure that we're equipping parents with these tools. Because, for example, right now, I have a 7-year-old and she's brilliant, but she's struggling in math. There are tools out there right now that are AI tools that will be her personal tutor that I can use. Some are paid and some are not. So again, it gives us so much flexibility. So I would just say I understand the fear. Like I said, I am a sci-fi head and Skynet. I'm like, okay, but at the same time, it is training so that we can get ahead of the curve as soon as possible and get to our next generation ahead of the curve. I have to admit, the other day I created something and I was like, oh my gosh, are we all going to get lazy? We might. I mean, really, we might all get lazy. How do we avoid that? I don't know. That's what I want to explore.
That's all very legitimate. Schatar, are there any other questions that we should pass on to Dr. Tree at the moment?
Yes, there are many comments, as you can see, really excellent comments here in the comments area. But I would like to ask Dr. Tree if you can comment and communicate in educator language for the teachers who are joining us for this special segment of AI and education and training. Previously, we talked about how you can create a custom GPT, which may be coded specifically to the teacher, to the educator's way of speaking, way of teaching based on their background, but then to have the individualized education plan for the one student. This is a tremendous opportunity to have a specific model that is trained on both the teacher's way of presenting and that student's way of learning, so that teacher's assistant can communicate with the student with that exact information.
Yeah.
So, so what about in terms of administrators and strategies? Okay, administrators, teachers, students, parents. What are some of the different needs that you see that we have to address, and some of the tools do you think they can deal with those?
I think administrators have a unique opportunity now, as I said, to get ahead of the curve. If they are functioning in fear, we're going to, again, it is an SOS in terms of education in our country right now. Literally, everyone should be extremely concerned. And it's not just PK through 12 education, it is higher education as well. What we are seeing is high levels of mental fatigue, high levels of depression in our students, high levels of depression in our faculty. So again, when we think about how we can use these tools, whether it's to model a social emotional learning lesson plan or how to create an environment. So going back to your question, I believe administrators, we have to get on this now, so that, because administrators are the one who create the tone and the culture of your school. Administrators can also be the ones who people say, well, that's why I'm leaving, right? So they play a critical role, and I would love to see, and I haven't seen a lot of work out there where we're convening the principals of schools, and principals are being very intentional. I do want to shout out links through our Nevada Department of Education. I just did a training, and Jason Green, if you're out there, it was a really great training through links and our Nevada Department of Education. And I was so happy to see them taking the lead. I participated along with 90 other teachers from the district in Clark County School District in this. I don't know if they're going to do a separate training for principals, but we need to do one sooner than later.
Now, what about homeschool and micro school situations? This is, a growing option for a lot of folks who are frustrated with the traditional educational system. What are some patterns or some trends that you're seeing happening here?
Well, I've seen a lot of parents who, recently have realized, they're like, oh, wait, you mean I can create a whole first grade curriculum for my child? Yes, right? You can literally create, and again, you need to go in and do your homework, right? And talk to your educator friends, etc. But you can literally go in. So my homeschool parents today, you can literally create your lesson plan for next week going into ChatGPT or some of the other resources. You can create coloring book pages through the ChatGPT as well. So you can literally have your whole curriculum that you need for your child. But the most important part, I would say, is how you're assessing your child, how you're making sure that they're meeting the standards that you want them to meet. So I think that's a whole nother long conversation, but I definitely think that that there's so many opportunities right now.
No, I think that part of the assessments, you are correct. I mean, that could be a whole weekend of just talking about the role of these AI tools. And because again, you guys, right now we have the ability, there's a concept that's built into OpenAI right now called sentiment analysis, where based on the things we're typing and writing, they can assess our feeling of what tone or what mood we're in. So, you assess students' works along the way, you can begin to see where things are stressful to them, where they're more relaxed to them, and you can begin to identify individual patterns in things. These are technologies that we have right now, but then that gets into issues of privacy, that gets into the issue of what sort of protocols are meant to protect people from being automatically biasly lumped into things. So as we talk about the AI hallucinating and we talk about the AI bias, then we have to say, okay, cool. How do we have counterbalances for these things that students are experiencing in the real world? How do we stop that from happening in these virtual and cyber, environments as well? Dr. Triya, what's your favorite tools? Oh, go ahead, dear.
And it's a two-way communication with the individual and the AI, which I think also goes to what Ben was saying. So now the AI can interpret the tone with which a person is communicating with the AI way to determine that. But also it can create different Gen AI facial expressions and those sorts of things based on the mood that you enter. So it's only a matter of time that it can actually relay characters, animated characters with those moods. It's only a matter of time.
Okay, so you guys, we're coming up on our 1 hour mark. Dr. Triya, I want to ask you some of your favorite tools, and you mentioned about the idea of making personalized learning curricula. From your experience with ChatGPT, what would those prompts be like?
That's a great question. I think, again, it just depends on what you're trying to create. I mean, if I'm trying to create, let's say I want to create a first grade reading or literacy workbook, then I'm going to have to be very specific using my educator language, right? So I would say something like, create a first grade workbook that is aligned with the Nevada state standards for first graders. Be sure to include differentiated lessons for an English language learner who is an emergent bilingual, right? Some that was very rough, right? So it is taking all the pieces that I know that I want for my learner or for my learners and putting it in that prompt. And then I might add to that prompt, integrate Zaretta Hammond's culturally responsive for neuroscience-based learning model into it, right? So I'm pulling the theories that I know that I want integrated in that particular piece of whether it's a workbook or it's a lesson plan as well.
So you're combining the standardized requirements with your personal assessment or the personal things that are oriented from your assessment for your child?
Yes. Or for my particular class. But I heard you ask earlier, what are some of my favorite tools? Honestly, I've been exploring some of the other tools, but I do find myself going back to OpenAI because there's so many GPTs in there now.
Yeah. Yes.
But Your Way is also another one, or is it Your Way AI? I might be pronouncing it wrong. That's one of the ones I learned about in the program I just did, where you can create your own teaching assistant. As well. Pictory is one that's fun to create videos for your classes if you want to do that as well. Of course, I'm enjoying Midjourney because if I want to do anything that I'm doing a lot of self-publishing, and so I think not only as a for myself, but also as a teacher, I like, as I said, to keep students through the writing process. So showing children how to use these after they've created their pieces for us to publish together is something, even though I'm not in a lower grade classroom, that's something that I'm excited to hopefully do in the near future.
And commenting on this also, it's important to make sure you mentioned and that wonderful prompt that you provided about incorporating Dr. Hammond's information. So it's important that that particular GPT model is trained on Dr. Hammond's book so that they can deliver the information to you.
Yes.
Oh,
And
okay.
I saw that Gina had a question about how do we introduce this to schools. I think that is those who are your legislators, parents, principals. I think it's up to us, particularly, again, those of us who are, I'm in Nevada, so those of us who are in the field and we're in those spaces, we're bringing these conversations to the table, and we're encouraging and we're pushing each other to go further with the work. So I still think we're at the very early stages, and I know any of the spaces that I'm in right now, I'm encouraging that. I just said to the faculty, so I'm again the dean at Nevada State School of Education, and so right now I just said to my faculty, we have to start having these conversations about how we are intentional about training our future teachers to use these tools.
Absolutely. Teachers, administrators, parents, and the students themselves, how for it to be natural integrations. Now, we're at the top of the hour. We have a list of tools that we're going to share, and we're going to go through this pretty quickly. And dear, we're going to have to drop the screen captures in, during the edit. But I want some of these folks to have some of these tools, just so they can begin to experiment with them. And so oh, good, you have the list there. Wow, great, thank you, dear. Good looking. All right, so as we talk about breaking it up into AI-powered e-learning platforms and then AI-powered tools to help us making e-learning content, we just want to give you guys a list of some things that you can experiment with. So first of all, we have traditional learning management platforms nowadays like Thinkific.com, Kajabi.com. These are platforms that allow us to create courses, or the one that we use for AI media makers, which is Mighty Networks. All of these are learning management platforms and communities that allow us to build lessons and courses. Now, previously, up to just a few months ago, none of these were AI or empowered. Well, Kajabi had Simple, but now all three of these that you see here, Thinkific, Kajabi, and Mighty Networks, All of these have Chat GPT-4 integrations that allow us to easily go in there, type a few keywords, and those platforms will create complete course outlines for us. And in some cases, they also will generate images and other things, so they become the starting point for us building courses. Now,
Can you
just like when, go
can
ahead
you
there.
please repeat that again for the teachers? Because this technology has come such a long way in this 1 year, and I'm all
Yes,
about advocating making things much easier for educators. So
yes.
now, instead of the a multitude of information that you had to put in previously and the hours, now it can be done in a matter of minutes, and the output instead is a lot more.
Yes. So again, just to clarify exactly what we're saying here is we're discussing learning management software platforms, LMS platforms. These are the software applications that we use to deliver training management courses and to track student participation in the courses. So some of the leading ones of the commercial ones are Thinkific and Kajabi, Mighty Networks. These represent for people who teach courses just like we do at AI, media makers, for coaches, for private trainers, for educators, anyone who wants to take their proprietary knowledge and set up a training management system. You could use any of these platforms here and quickly and easily, through the power of AI, put a course online. So with Thinkific or with Mighty Networks, we can go in right now, click create new course. It will ask us some keywords for the course, ask us for any other outline information we have, and it will create a complete model of the courses. It'll make sections, it'll make lessons. Now, here's the thing, just like everything we have to curate during AI, only a portion of it is going to be ready to go. So we still have to pull out the bad parts and to reiterate, repeat through the process until we get the pieces together. But this idea of AI generated content we touched on before when we talked about using services like softer.com or 10web.com. These allow us to easily enter keywords and have whole websites created for us. Well, that's what we have happening right here in these training management platforms. These tools have deep integration with AI to help us do everything from community engagement to create course content and things like that. Now, standalone from the platforms, we also have the learning management tools to help us create e-learning content. Last year, we talked about using Canva to create e-learning content at the time when Canva wasn't even AI integrated. Right now, we can go into Canva and click apps and go click something called Magic Design and have a whole suite of brand new design tools that are right there in Canva, where we can type text to image, text to video, something called magic morphing, and a whole variety of things, as well as text-based tools that allow us to outline content, expand content. All of that is right in Canva. Articulate, just like Adobe in editing, is one of the leaders in editing for editing materials and software. Articulate is one of the leading SaaS providers for software for creating e-learning content. They make a software called Storyline and other ones. All of these now have AI integrated and allow you to create interactive e-learning content. But our favorite here at Latimer Labs and AI Toolbox is H5P. H5P is we have a complete lesson last year teaching you how to use H5P, but again, we now have AI integrated. So H5P allows a person to take videos and text and audio and bundle them into interactive content that you can then easily import and export into any learning management system. You can get an embed code and you can create interactive quizzes, interactive videos, interactive games. There's dozens of tools. Under h5p.org, you can get a free version of this as a plugin that you can drop right into your WordPress site and begin creating interactive content. But what we're most excited to talk about here today is the H5P AI tool. And that is at h5p.com. So the H5, thank you, dear. Just to give an explanation again, just like WordPress is a community created software application, and on WordPress.org, we can find the tools that we need in order to build the website. WordPress.com is the commercial implementation. So it's the same thing here. On h5p.org, we find the community implementation of H5P, but on h5p.com, we find the commercial service. Now, on the community version, you can use software learning management systems like Canvas and Moodle and LearnDash and other things, and tap right into those tools. But on the h5p.com, they have something that is very special right now called AI Import. And what this AI import allows us to do is to take an audio file or a video file. Thank you, dear. Smart import. There we go. That's the visuals I was looking for. Okay, so here we go. So now we're logged into a free trial on h5p.com. Now, when you log in by default, you can click add content and you can begin creating interactive content right there. You can get embed codes and drop that content into your WordPress or any blog, or you can download the H5P and import it into a learning management system. But if you query the people at h5p.com and ask them about the beta for their AI smart import, they'll turn on this option right here for you. This is the power tool. With this tool right here, we have the ability to take an audio file or a YouTube image or a page of text, and it runs it through the smart import. It assesses the context of this information, and then it begins to make interactive content for us, you guys. It can make crossword puzzles. It can make quizzes. It can make a variety of interactive. Now, we have to go in and polish that further, but this is a secret sauce power tool that we're encouraging many people, because now what you can do is just like with Pictory, which Dr. Triya mentioned as one of her favorite tools, we can now repurpose existing content. We can take our current learning plans and our current videos and our current audio and run them through these tools and have brand new content that we can go into our learning management systems to teach anything that we want. And we can supplement this with images. Thank you, dear. Here's the process. You click the upload, you can attach a link to a file, and it could be a text file, audio file, or video file. They go through, they transcribe it, and they scrape it, and they make a text version of it. You can review the text, and you can review their concepts, and then you can choose which of the H5P to create. Thank you, dear. And then it will automatically make this content for you. So again, now we have tools that allow us to take little bits of information, repurpose, recreate in the modality meaning audio, video, interaction that is necessary to most engage our students. This, again, is a complete course that we're going to have to offer on AI Toolbox, because just creating this interactive content, as we use the prompts to create our images in Midjourney and our voices in 11 Labs and our videos in Hey Gen, we can use something like H5P to bundle these things together, just like a PDF file. And that H5P document, it can be sold. So now we can sell our interactive courses using something simple like Shopify or PayHip or WooCommerce. We can sell that H5P, and we're able to sell content that could be dropped into as a learning management system at Stanford or somebody's local coaching program.
Absolutely. That same learning object, once you make it, so again, it should have glossy, beautiful visuals. It can be educational. Once you make it, you can take that learning object and put it into Canvas, which many of the educational institutions use. You can also put into Moodle, Blackboard, and others. So once you author it one time, it can go many places. And guess what else, educators? Your students can also learn on the go, because these H5P learning objects are also accessible on the mobile. So
Yes.
let's say they decide to open a learning game, such as a memory match game, on their phone. They can
you share your screen there and show some of the content under the options?
H5P? Oh, sure.
Yes.
Absolutely. I will load that now.
It's h5p.org/examples. And again, you guys, we just want to show you something. It's about 20 or 30 different content types that are under here. And this is, again, the idea of how can we take micro lesson and make it micro learning and make it most engaging and most interesting. And H5P is one of these secret tools. And again, we're about to wrap up in just a few minutes there. While we're loading this, are there any other questions we need to address?
The chat is clear. I want to thank everyone for their comments and questions, and Jen for helping to monitor the chat and add the links so people can copy them here.
Yes, and these replays, as we said, will be available in the AI Media Makers Training Center. So we'll be chopping it up, and we're going to be adding additional content that is exclusive for the members because we just have so many little lab projects and things that we've been building. Oh, great. So here's examples, you guys, of the type of content that you can do right now. Let's stop at that branching scenario, and let's just talk about that, because that branching scenario, Ben, that's how I'm going to make an interactive game. That branching scenario, it allows us to combine images and videos, and it's a choose your own adventure thing.
Very cool.
And another thing that we use on here, Ben, we have used, if you type 360 image 2:1 ratio on Midjourney, it makes a 360 virtual image for you.
Wow.
And so right on here is a VR player that we have used to deploy those images on websites. Okay. But so again, right up in here. So for example, interactive video, you can now take a YouTube video and you can add points with quizzes and touch points and interactive games and other things like that. So any of these activities on this page can be combined together in the course presentation or in the branching scenario. Dear, can you scroll down to the map? So what we're going to do, and we're about to wrap up, you guys. So Dr. Triya, this is how we're going to create your map, your map game. And I'm going to talk through it here, dear, and we're not going to have all the steps. But if we click on game map right there. Yep. Okay, cool. Now, so Dr. Triya has created a map that she wants to have a gamified, basically. This is an H5P that is ready for us to do that. We can go over to Midjourney as she did, or ChatGPT as she did, and we can, now that Midjourney and ChatGPT allow us to have text, we can create a basic board, and the board that she created for us has some text that we didn't need. So we will take that image into Canva, and under those apps that we were talking about is use the Canva eraser. And with the Canva Magic Erase, we can remove anything we didn't want on the board. So once we have that image ready, we come right over here into h5p.com. We click create content, game map. We upload her image there, and then we can designate hotspots on that map. Each one of those hotspots can have a quiz, an activity, a game, something that has to be completed by the student on their journey on the whole path. And so those little things will unlock based upon the quiz score or how much of the video that they watch or things like that. So Dr. Triya, this is exactly how we're going to take your game using this H5P and gamify it. And then under each one of those locks, like we said, you'll be able to have a crossword or a memory match or a fill in the blank type adventure on your map. Now, when this H5P is dropped into the proper learning management system, it's going to track all of the students' participation and keep track of their grades and everything. So now that reporting that we need about participation is already built, up in there. So
look how much
that's
time.
one of the benefits.
Yes, look how much time that saves you, educators. It has full reporting. So if a student is taking time to interact with your learning object and they're on the bus on their way home, you will have full reporting. The data is available right there in the system so that you know who's interacted, how long they've interacted, if they've completed their quiz, what their score is, and it assembles all of that for you.
Yes. Now, there's an old school technology we use called SCORM, SCORM. SCORM allowed us to bundle educational content. It's still used predominantly in larger institutions. H5P is the alternative to SCORM, and it allows us to quickly create this content, and it creates templates. So when we download this one right here and take it into our learning management system, we can use that as a starting point to modify for the future things. So anything you see on the h5p.org website, you can download. And as I said, Ben, for those of us who are DIY, you have a WordPress site, you go right there to the plugin directory and type H5P, and that whole platform is available in your WordPress.
Wow.
Yes, okay. Right there. Yep.
Very impressive.
Yes. So and again, memory match games, crossword puzzles, it's very liberating. So dear, if there's not any, so Dr. Ben, do you have any questions for us based on anything you've heard?
No, I want to get on this and start exploring. And
Good.
I probably want to talk to you a little bit later, about, how I could incorporate this in what I'm doing.
Okay,
Because
man.
eventually, when I get to, I want to, start sharing this knowledge because I want to eventually create a workflow
Yes.
for upcoming filmmakers and AI filmmakers about creating uh, content using mixed mediums or AI alone and stuff. I'm just
Yes.
not much of an online tutorial type of guy. I'm
That's
most behind the scenes type of guy.
that's
But
why you come to AI Media Makers. We
yeah.
we got you.
Okay,
Yeah.
very cool, very cool.
Dr. Tria, do you have any other questions or anything before we wrap up?
No, I'm just excited to do more.
Good.
So I
Good.
just say to everyone, well, you'll see more of me.
All right, wonderful. All right. Well, we want to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you, Schatar, for switching and technical directing and keeping things in order behind the scenes. Thank you, Dr. Tria, for rolling with us. Thank you, Ben. We appreciate the conversation and your time, especially this last minute. Your insight was wonderful. Jen, good looking out in the chat room. Next week, you guys, we will be back with AI Toolbox Bootcamp module number 5 as we look at how we use AI in business, marketing, and sales. You will want to tune in for this one. It's a lot of useful information this immediately may impact how you're doing business. I'm Maxie Collier, my wife Schatar, Sapphira Collier, my sister Dr. Tria. We are AI Toolbox. Thank you all for participating, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
That's a wrap.